In today's digital age, data privacy and security are more important than ever before. The General Data Protection Regulation sets out strict requirements for organizations to protect personal data from loss, unauthorized access, accidental or unlawful destruction. One of the key requirements is the implementation of technical and organizational measures. So let's take a closer look at what a TOM is and how it helps organizations comply with the GDPR. TOMs refer to the steps that organizations must take to ensure the security and confidentiality of personal data they process. These measures are designed to reduce the risks of data breaches, protect individuals' privacy, and ensure compliance with the GDPR. In that sense, any action that contributes to the protection of data against loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability qualifies as a TOM, no matter how complex or simple. For instance, implementing zero knowledge in a tech stack is extremely complex, while adding a line in a policy and training or reminding staff to lock their screen is extremely simple. For those familiar with information security frameworks like ISO 27001 and SOC 2, think of TOMs as security controls, and keep in mind that security starts with basic, simple practices like strong passwords and reducing access to staff authorized on a need-to-know basis. Technical measures include the use of encryption, pseudonymization, access controls, and regular backups to protect personal data from unauthorized access, loss, accidental, or unlawful destruction. Encryption is the process of converting data into a code that can only be decoded by authorized users with the appropriate decryption key. Pseudonymization involves replacing personal identifiers with non-personal ones, reducing the risk of re-identification. Access controls restricts who can access personal data and can include measures such as multiple or two-factor authentication or even biometric authentication for authorized accesses. Ransom attacks are quite common, and when it comes to ensuring the availability of data or protecting information assets from hardware failure, backups and backup plans ensure that data can be restored in the event of data loss or corruption. Protecting from unlawful access to data, organizations should implement access controls to premises and data transport layer security, firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems. Encryption. The list is long, but it should always be relevant to the threats and to the risks to the data subject. Now, if you've come to this video expecting to learn what the GDPR requires companies to implement, you might be disappointed, as the GDPR merely requires organizations to implement adequate security, appropriate to the level of risk. So first start by considering what could possibly be the consequence for the data subject of a loss of availability, integrity, and confidentiality of their data. Risk assessments and data protection impact assessments are excellent starting points. You might also want to consider basic security best practices and local guidance. For instance, in Germany, the Federal Office for Information Security has published security recommendations for cloud computing providers. In France, the ANSSI, and at a higher EU level, the ENISA, regularly publish recommendations that are technology or risk specific. Organizational measures include the implementation of policies and procedures to ensure compliance with the GDPR, staff training and awareness raising, and the appointment of data protection officers. Policies should cover areas such as data retention, or the handling of data subject requests, even incident response procedures. Organizations may consider implementing measures such as background checks and confidentiality agreements for employees who handle personal data. As services have moved to the cloud, so have risks and security measures. The multiplication of actors in a processing value chain can lead to a significant increase in the number of controls to be implemented to ensure security is managed, despite the dissemination of responsibilities. However, according to Article 82(3) of the GDPR, a controller or processor is exempt from liability if they can prove that in anyway they were not responsible for the event that caused the damage. So to ensure that your organization is not liable, it's crucial that you document your security practices, because that documentation is your first line of defense against paying hefty fines that you might not otherwise be able to deflect. To summarize, the GDPR requires organizations to take appropriate technical and organizational measures. TOMs are a key aspect of GDPR compliance. Implementing them and keeping the relevant documentation updated will help demonstrate compliance with Article 32 on the security of processing and with Article 5.2 on the accountability principle. It might even deflect some of that liability. I'm often asked whether to classify a TOM as organizational or technical, but that distinction sometimes is blurred and not that useful. For instance, access rights policies can be understood as both a written policy, for instance, an organizational measure, outlining how accesses are to be attributed to users or roles. But it's also seen as the actual access control list fed into a dedicated rights management console. In that sense, the access rights policy is both technical and organizational. Ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you classify a measure purely as technical or organizational. What's important is that you have a measure in place and that you're able to filter, review, prioritize, update, i.e. manage them. When implementing measures, B2B organizations secure data while building trust and demonstrating compliance to their customers, while B2C companies increase their ability to protect data and reduce the likelihood of making yet another headline for another data breach, thus avoiding significant fines and reputational damage. If you have any questions on what to implement, how to implement it, whether or not it's an appropriate protection for the type of data that you're processing, get in touch at contact@techgdpr.com. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.